From poetry, we turn again to music. Ian and Sylvia, Leonard, Gordon, Buffy, and Joni did it. Why couldn't he? Another young Canadian musician hears obscurity growing more distant. Guitarist Lenny Breau makes his first LP.
This seems to be a long swing from the first days when you picked up that guitar as your father's guitar, wasn't it, as a young fellow there? And really, you weren't supposed to. I think you got chastised for it. Or was that just a publicity story?
Well, I used to try and play when I was 3, But I couldn't play, because my hands were too small anyway. But I used to watch my dad's hands all the time, you see. And I used to try and play, and one time I got mad at his guitar and I jumped on it. And he caught me doing it, right? Anyway, about 3 years later, I had one of my own, I was living on a farm in New Brunswick. And my mom and dad were in Nashville, and they were on the road. And I was living on a farm, you see. And I just started learning how to play the guitar by myself, and I learned all the chords and that you can use in Western music, or in country music. And when my dad, he was gone for about 3 months, and when he came back, I had learned a couple tunes. And then he bought me a better guitar, and that's how it started,
So you played country music all at the beginning?
Yeah, sure. I played country music for 9 years.
Where did it take you? Were you out on the road a lot?
I was out on the road all the time. I was in and out of different schools all the time. I was in a French school, 1 month, and then an English school the next month. I didn't know where I was at in school. So that's why I finally had to quit school and just say, well, all I'm going to do is just play, because that's all I know how to do. Well, when I was in Winnipeg, I lived in Winnipeg for 8 years, and we always had a jazz club in town. And I always managed to work in this club for 6 days a week. So that was like going to school. It was like going to school for me, because I worked in a jazz club for 2 years at a time, at 6 nights a week.
That's a lot of sessions.
Yeah, and we played all,
And you could do anything you wanted. Was that the thing?
Yeah. So I was learning every day, and I was practicing during the day, So I did this about 3 or 4 years before I even started at the CBC. And while I was at the CBC, well, that was a new experience again, because I never had to read before. You see, I was always playing by ear.
I remember that, yeah.
So I used to have to practice on the breaks, right? I'd have to learn the music on the breaks, because I was slow at it. And I still am.
On this disc that you've cut, have you favorite cuts? Parts that you thought were really you?
Yeah, let me see, there was one track that was a flamenco tune. And what I did was that I was playing a flamenco tune, and right in the middle of it, I brought the bass and drums in, and I started to play jazz. You see? But it didn't lose the mood. It melted in like. And after that, I went back to the flamenco again, you see? So I was mixing two things. And that's what I like doing, because I'm trying to prove a point there.
Did that happen just as a happening, or was that planned?
It was a spontaneous thing, although we had a structure. But they didn't know what I was going to play or how fast I was going to play all they were watching for was I was going to give them a nod. And when I felt the time was right, I went like this. And we knew what we were going to play on because we had a set of chords, but there were no notes written down. And it happened on the first take. You know, so I was very happy with that take.
And this is the flamenco cut.
Right, it's the flamenco cut.
What about the others? Anything particular happen with some of the other cuts?
I like the stuff that I did with the 12-string guitar because the 12-string guitar has a whole new sound, you see, because I have a different kind of 12-string guitar, and I redesigned it myself, and it's got a different sound. It can sound like a sitar, it can sound like a guitar, it can also sound like a harp, it can sound like a piano. Or you can play octaves on it, like Wes Montgomery does. So I think that those are probably the best ones on the album as far as the jazz music is concerned, you know.
But these are your personal interests, the thing that you'd play for yourself.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that the 12-stringer will you know, like oh gee whiz, I'm starting to stutter.
Oh yeah.
I'm
That's
starting
okay.
to stutter.
You're with Fred there.
Anyway, it's hard to explain, but I feel that the 12-string guitar is going to be the biggest thing for me. You know, because I can see a lot of things on it that haven't been done, and I can't do them. But I think if I get down to it, you know, I can do a little practicing. I'll be able to do it in a couple of years.
I was amazed. You know, you used to stutter an awful lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you were younger and so on.
Yeah.
And yet, when you do these nightclub acts, there's no trace of it at all. Or very little, anyway.
Well, I don't do a whole lot of talking on stage anyway. Like, if I'll say something and I'll say, well, I'd like to play a little tune called, and if I feel that I'm going to stutter, I won't even say anything. I'll just start playing. And the audience, I think they get a kick out of it sometimes. So I just let it go like that, you know.
You're really talking through your music all the time anyway.
Well, I hope so, you know. I hope so. But I like to talk because I like to tell them what I'm going to do, and it helps, you know, it helps them.
Yeah. To establish a mood and really,
right.
Yeah.
You know.
You're teaching at the same time as you're playing.
Because there's a lot of musicians today that are great musicians, and I love the way they play, you know. But like a lot of them will stand up there and play great music and won't say a word to the audience, you know, and at times they won't even look at them, you know, they turn their back sometimes. It's because they're really involved in what they're doing and they don't feel that they have to. But there's a lot of people out there that need help.
The record, Guitar Sounds from Lenny Breau.
Sunday Supplement is attempting to bring you a chat with writer Eldridge Cleaver, a fugitive wanted in the United States on charges of assault and jumping bail. If any listener has information which might aid us in getting a tape, please contact Supplement at Box 500, Terminal A, Toronto. All letters will be kept strictly confidential.
You don't mean...
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Sunday Supplement was prepared for broadcast by David Humphreys and Makbul Jung. Written by Doug Featherling and directed by Barry Morgan. Readings by Alan King and Michel Garneau. Associate producer Raoul Engel. Technical operation by Rob McBride and Ed Scott. The executive producer of Sunday Supplement is Howard Engel. I'm Jim Robertson. Have a pleasurable forenoon.
This is the CBC Radio Network.